Um, Wilbur stood. I'll just start again. Wilbur stood looking intently at Bacon's shoes. Sorry this is so late. It won't happen again, Wilbur stuttered. Bacon smiled warmly. No worries, Wilbur. He took the milk bottles from the young boy. Thank you for coming by. As these words left Bacon's mouth, he looked out in the distance, just in time to see a burst of light shoot across the sky and land right smack where the loft stood. Oh no, Bacon gasped. Suddenly power failed, and all was darkness. Back in the loft, Ice was the first to jump forward. Okay, now you can hear it. The volume seems fine. That's good. Very good. Thank you. Back in the loft, Ice was the first to jump forward after the battle cry. Standing with the guitar strapped over his back, he swung it into hand and began mashing buttons furiously. Hyped up on adrenaline and excitement, all that entered into his mind was Through the Fire and the Flames, which couldn't have been more appropriate for the present situation they were in. As the guitar riffs began, energy matching the hue of Ice's guitar began pushing the entity back towards the wall, and the friends were able to gain ground and stand more firmly. Tacos was next to join, playing in succession with Ice on the guitar, each note taking form and smashing against the darkness, causing it to falter even more. The others, seeing the success and sheer epicness of it all, smiled and began to fight as well, Grape throwing luminous Kool-Aid bottles as the dark entities split and Morphos stood in their way. Oh, sweet, Minnie shouted. At this point, Minnie had figured out how to unsheath his Joy-Cons, which came out as blades of light, each slash slicing through the entities and defeating the darkness. As the battle neared its end, all the friends felt strong as ever. It seemed that all was just about back to normal, or at least how normal it could be after what had just happened. But their relief was in vain. The remaining dark entities suddenly stopped fighting, then fell back. It seemed to be a surrender, but indeed it was far from it. The retreating entities met and merged in a way that was both frightening and spectacular. The foe, now towering before them, was much more than the group of them could handle. Oh man, here comes the boss fight, Joker retorted. Chapter 4, The Beast Before Them. The light of the moon once more shone, but now dimly, into the loft. All was in disarray. The wondrous spread of food now covered the floors and walls, which in the darkness of night looked quite grotesque. Though no one noticed the mess, all attention was on the monstrous dark entity, hovering in menace above the group of friends. They had thrown all they could at it with little sense of sight of victory. Oh, or sight. Little sense or sight of victory. There they stood from the front, silhouetted by the dim light of the moon, from the back, seemingly swallowed up in the darkness facing them. Though they were all exhausted and drenched in sweat, they felt no warmth. It was as if all had gone dark and cold. Toad closed his eyes in the moment, thinking back to the days past, duking it out in boss fights with the same group of friends. Back then, it was all a game. It was simple enough to turn off the console and return to normal life. But now, seemingly, this was normal life. As normal as who knows how tall demon of darkness standing in your family room could be anyway. They had fought hard, but now all had gone eerily silent. The beast just stood there, as if it had forgotten its reason for being there. The friends all remained silent as well, hoping to not set off or trigger the intruder in any way. Toast broke the silence, pushing up his VR visor, though while still holding fast to his D20, lest the monster strike. So, what's the plan? We just gonna sit here till it takes us out like a Happy Meal? Toad is brought back to the present moment and shudders with the dark entity looming before him. The entity breathed slowly, deeply, each breath filling the room with cold. Ice, who kept his eyes set on the beast, his guitar resting on his back, breathed in slowly, in a whisper. We need some way to send it back to wherever it came from, or at least get it away from where it can do any harm. Meth exhaled in exhaustion. Yeah, 'cause there ain't no way we're taking this behemoth out. Fox was next to join the rousing discussion whilst watching the certain death that loomed before them. But how do we pacify this thing, or even move it anywhere? All were silent, and the end seemed imminent. Meanwhile, I need like some more intense music. It's like chill vibes with like this like kind of like intense. Let's see if I can find like some. I don't know. I guess we'll just go with it. Bacon ran as fast as he could. Tears began to stream down his face. He expected the worst. He thought back the way the otherworldly light shot across the sky and landed right where his friend stood, the way it smashed into the loft, and then all went dark. It couldn't be. They couldn't be gone. Gone. Why wasn't I there to help them, Bacon thought, an endless stream of thought bombarding his mind. But now wasn't the time to panic. Now was the time to go, to run. In the rush to get there, Bacon had scarcely grabbed his bag from beside the door and followed suit, running past Wilbur on his way out. As his feet hit the cold, hard ground, adrenaline pumped hard. His mind began to spiral, but he grasped onto the thought that all was not lost and held to that as tightly as he could. It began to rain as Bacon neared the corner that the loft stood on. The rain pounded hard, almost as much as his heart. It was much too dark to see the state of the loft, only the dark moonlight silhouetting it in silence. Bacon plunged through the front door, alone, into the darkness of the building. Silence. Fear shot through him. He ran up the stairs to see what remained. Back in the loft, Cheese looked up to his brother Grape to make sure he was okay. They had been sitting in silence for what seemed like an eternity. All that broke the silence was the deep breathing and grunting of the beast before them. It's like, wicka, wicka, wicka. Though spirits were low, everyone was still okay. They had set up camp, so to say, to stay awake and alive. Grape was sitting, silently sipping from a juice pouch. It didn't seem to bother the beast, so everyone had agreed it was okay. The door to the rooftop was blocked by a bookcase. They had tried to move it, but feared it would set the beast off. Nope, no way out, no exit. And the door into the loft, though usually open, it was blocked quite perfectly by the dark entity. Cheese sighed in frustration. No way out. That's what we got so far for Tanuki Hero. Chapter 4. Yeah, this is the story I was working on in Notion. I was trying to think of like something that could stand in for another baking system. I know this is like a totally different conversation, but so like one of the witches bakes sweets and cinnamon rolls and like just like sweet things. Another one bakes like, I was thinking maybe bakes just like straight bread. But like what other things were like around in medieval times? I guess I could just put for now one witch bakes like flatbreads, like pita and naan. I think that's how you spell naan, maybe. Do some writing. Sneaky Grammarly. Buster said Wizards of the Coast. They're the ones that made like Magic the Gathering, right? And maybe some stuff for Dungeons and Dragons. What about Wizards of the Coast? Can I like turn off Grammarly? Because it's kind of annoying. It's kind of nice to get the things that like that Notion already does, like for misspelling things, but oh, wolfberries. Let's see, 3 witch dudes had lived together for who knows how long. A